Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're playing Drawback chess, where each player is assigned a random drawback, like Lame Duck, where you can't move your king, or True Gentleman, where you can never capture a queen. My goal is to win 5 games. Let's get started with game number 1. Alright, game number 1, we get the white pieces, and our drawback is horse eats first. As long as you have a knight, you can only capture with knights. Okay, so basically that means get rid of your knights ASAP. Immediately I try to capture with a pawn. We also only have a minute for this game. I'm not sure how easy it is, or rather how easy it's going to be to force trades with only my knight. It is 1-2, so we do get 2 seconds back for every move that we make, but it's still a little bit annoying. Let's do this. I'm honestly willing to sacrifice my knights because it might be necessary. Like right now I can't even take that bishop. What I can do is defend my own bishop with a knight, but to say that's suspicious would be an incredible understatement. Opponent now down under 20 seconds, 15 left. I don't know what they're thinking about. They either have an awful drawback or they have an unwanted guest at their door. Aliens, perhaps. All right, 2 seconds left on the clock. And with that, we do win game number 1. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. You won. Your opponent ran out of time. Whoa! Look at that drawback. Holy smokes. Your opponent's drawback was, I have no idea how to pronounce that. Let me Google this one moment.
Ichthyophobia.
Ichthyophobe. You can't make the move that Stockfish would make. Oh, the opponent got the legendary Stockfish drawback that we got one time before the opponent aborted the game, and it seems we've been met with the exact same fate. Wow, that is really one of the hardest drawbacks I've ever seen here. So this opponent must have been pretty high rated. Either way, with that, we win game number 1. Let's go to move on to game number 2. All right, game number 2. Oh, it's the same opponent. Again, with 1 minute, 2 second increment, and our drawback is sibling rivalry. You cannot move a piece to a square adjacent to an opponent's piece of the same type. Honestly, not a terribly difficult drawback. The only reason this would be an issue is pawns versus pawns, but we've already seen that this opponent favors this sort of Queen's Indian setup. So for example, I can't take here because the pawn can take back, or rather because the pawn would be adjacent to my pawn. Knight to f3. Maybe I should have been a little bit more greedy in terms of grabbing space, but at the same time, if I do stuff like h4 and we're met with, for example, g5, I can never take. So if I'm too greedy, I might just end up with a whole bunch of weaknesses. The only upside I do see to this is that the opponent has to be a pretty strong player to have gotten such a hard drawback compared to ours. Which, not to brag, is kind of rare. Like, we've played enough drawback games that we have climbed rating over time. So it's pretty interesting to have such a strong opponent. No, am I getting trolled right now? Why are they running down their clock again? Oh, I hope they're just thinking of a really good move, but I have a bad feeling. They're either a London hater or they are actively throwing these games. Okay, back down under 3 seconds. Unless they're Magnus Carlsen, this is going to be a hard one to recover from. And with that, we do win game number 2. Holy smoke. Sorry, let's go ahead and pop up the info board. Look at that. You won. Your opponent's drawback was friendly fire. Can only move to squares defended by your other pieces. And look how hard that drawback is. That is absolutely insane. I'm genuinely curious what this opponent's rating might be. Let's go ahead and move on to game number 3. All right, holy smokes. Game number 3, our drawback is unlucky, can't move to half the squares on the board. I guess we're not a d4 player today, so e4 it is. Do I know much theory in e4? Absolutely not. Am I gonna play it anyways? I have no choice. h5, okay, I hope the opponent has a very hard drawback. The bright side here, what is rook to h6? Okay, either the opponent has a very strong drawback or they are not a terribly experienced drawback player. The bright side is that I have been able to play this as if I were playing theory, basically. So it kind of looks like I don't even have a drawback, which is insane because I have one of the most annoying drawbacks, arguably. Rook to g6 threatens this, and there's literally no way to defend this on the board. Well, I guess rook to g1 is possible. Oh wait, does that mean I can castle as well? Oh, this is beautiful. Never mind, I spoke way too soon. Rook, oh, you've got to be kidding me. They just went straight for the kill. That's absolutely insane. I can't do anything about it either. Oh my goodness, why did I do that? I just didn't expect the opponent to take. That's absolutely insane. Okay, I guess we're gonna counter take. And with that, we do lose game number 3. That is absolutely insane. Let's go and pop up the info board. All right, you lost. Your opponent took your king. Your opponent's drawback was rook on the 7th. By move 15, you must move one of your rooks to the 7th rank. Oh my goodness. What are the odds that I castle into that as they go for the rook sack on g2? That's absolutely insane. But okay, we have 2 wins under our belt. Let's go to move on to game number 4. Before we move on, if you want to improve your openings, I recommend checking out the sponsor of this video, chessreps.com, which offers easy step-by-step opening lessons. Drill your opening to climb to the top of the leaderboard or do puzzles that come from real games. Like this puzzle where I can click back to see how we got to this Jobava London position before delivering this nasty fork. Puzzles are completely free, so you can keep doing puzzles to increase your opening elo and then take that practice into a real game, like I did to crush my opponent with the Jobava London. If you want to support the channel and become an opening menace, check out chessreps.com. Now, back to the video. Alright, game number 4. We have another one of these names, reveal if you do, but we don't reveal. So our drawback is cowering in fear. You can't move a piece of less value than one your opponent has taken. You can't move a piece of less value than one your opponent has taken. Wow, so I have to avoid trades at all costs, basically? That's absolutely, this has to be a very, very hard drawback. Because if my opponent, for example, trades queens, it's pretty much game over. I can only move my king. Wow, that is actually very concerning. Okay, I'm going to go for a little bit of a power play here, if I'm allowed to, and just kind of go for the kill as early as, yeah, whoa. Easy victory for game number 4. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. All right, I'm very proud. I feel like my drawback instincts are getting absolutely insane. I wish I could say the same about dice chess, but I get rolled in dice chess pretty frequently. But with drawback, I feel like I'm getting a pretty good intuition for when I need to push and press the opponent and when I shouldn't. That is our 3rd victory. Your opponent's drawback was torpedoes. If you made a non-capturing move with a pawn on your previous turn, and you can move it again this turn, you must. Oh, I mean, they kind of set themselves up for failure by moving a pawn for their first move. But with that, we do have 3 victories under our belt. Let's go to move on to game number 5. All right, game number 5, we get the white pieces, and our drawback is edgelord. Must have at least as many pieces on the rim as the opponent. Yeah, this is not one of those fun ones. So really, you can't make pawns go to the rim, and all the other pieces are already on the rim, so basically I always have to be less developed than my opponent. So I'm going to make a sort of silly waiting move like h4, because that moves a piece from the rim to another part of the rim. So let's play knight to h3 if we get a trade. Again, there's no way that makes me have less pieces on the rim. I currently have 9 and they have 8. This is another one of those drawbacks that makes me really just want to kamikaze the position, and just play for like some crazy idea like this. Although that's easily defensible, it still is very tempting because this is so restricting. Like I literally have no choice but to play from the edge of the board. So how about this? What about e3, queen to h5? At least that initial setup moves a piece from one edge of the board to the other, so it doesn't actually lose us any pieces on the edge. Okay, queen to f6 immediately defends that idea though. They currently have 7 pieces, 6 pieces now on the rim because they are actually developing them, you know, how you're supposed to do in chess. So we'll see what we can do here, minimizing the number of pieces we actually have to move. Okay, we get pawn to g6. I'm willing to take one of my pieces off the rim to try for c7. With any luck, I might even land it on the rim again with a free rook. And if that's not possible, then I will be equally happy with long castles. Okay, but we get rook to c8. I'd love to isolate this king so I can actually go for an attack, but it doesn't seem like that's possible at the moment. Let's try c4, trying to open up the position a little bit. The other interesting thing is that pieces on the rim are a little bit more difficult to capture because obviously they still sit behind these pawns. So I don't need to be playing this defensive, but at the same time, I feel like I only have 2 pieces more on the rim. And now I only have 1 more piece on the rim. And obviously I just need to not have less. I need to be at least equal, but still it's pretty uncomfortable. I'm going to take that and see if we can open up the king at all. e4, I guess. A little bit of a desperate play, but I'm willing to see what comes of it. Pawn does take. Okay, now we have the exact same number. Oh wait, but the issue is if I play here, the opponent can take, and then I instantly lose the game. Oh, this is so bad. Okay, knight to a3, put another piece on the rim, and the reason that would have been losing is because then we would have had 6 to 6, and then it would have been 5 to 6, so I would have had less. Okay, whoa, queen takes d4. Let's play queen g4, looking at rook to c8. And we still have 1 more piece, on the rim than our opponent. That is free, with check as well. With any luck, they can't move their king. That would explain a lot of their moves. Knight to d8. It still would explain a lot of their moves. Not to mention, they now have 5 pieces on the rim, and we have 8, because the queen has now moved to the edge of the board. We do have to be aware of this little idea. So I'm going to play bishop to e3 with the idea of the skewer. They do have the check, so it's not like they're actually losing material here, but you can always just move out of the way. Okay, bishop b4 is checked. We'll move the king out of the way. And in like the perfect world, the queen moves like, I don't know, all the way back to g7, and I play like rook to d1 and attack d8. Okay, but the queen goes to f6 and defends d8. That doesn't mean I shouldn't line up the rook though. It's still on the edge of the board. It's looking at d8, and I just need to figure out how to bring more pieces into the attack. I still have 2 whole extra pieces, more than the opponent on the rim. Okay, if the opponent can't move the king, then it's all over right here. Oh, king takes d7, which means I can take back. And with that, we win game number 5. That means we have 4 victories under our belt. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. Okay, you won. You took your opponent's king. Your opponent's drawback was Bishop Fan Club. You must promote to bishops. Your king and queen can only move diagonally. Oh, only move diagonally. That makes a lot of sense. So it's not that they couldn't move their king. There was never a point where king to d7 was favorable and king to f7 was just never possible because of the pawn. Let's go to move on to game number 6. Game number 6, we get the black pieces, and our drawback is elephants fear mice. Non-pawn pieces can't capture pawns. Interesting. Okay, so I think that means I kind of just want to close up the position, meaning pawns will kind of sit on opposite colors. So if all of my pawns are on dark squares, then all of my opponent's pawns are on light squares and vice versa. But they go straight for the center. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I could play like c5 here and just trade pawns for pawns, and I'm still able to make those captures. But the only reason I don't really want to trade off central pawns, if I can avoid it, is because I'd like to get a closed position. So let's play knight to c6 here. We've basically transposed into a sort of Sicilian. Get knight to c3. Let's play g6. I mean, I did play the Sicilian once upon a time. Just to play the dragon. Get bishop to c4. So far, so good. So far, we're actually playing theory. This is a normal game of chess. We'll go ahead and castle, and I just have to keep in mind that my pieces can't capture pawns besides, you know, my own pawns. Let's play knight to e5, target the bishop. I actually stopped playing the Sicilian because it had a lot of lines that wanted you to play rook to c8 and then sack on c3 just for attacking ideas. And as exciting as that looks, it's not really down my alley if I don't have to play that. Which I know is crazy because I generally do play, you know, relatively attacking games. So I'm not totally out of my element, but I didn't like the idea that if I played in quote unquote normal chess that I would be playing out of theory. We get pawn to g4. Let's play knight to c4, looks at the fork. Worst case scenario, we trade off this defensive bishop for our knight. So far, so good. So far, I actually think we might still be in theory. And I think the point where I'm supposed to sack here might actually be coming up, which is kind of insane. Let's play. Oh, why did I play that? Oh my goodness, I just forgot. Honestly, I just started playing theory. Luckily, the opponent gives us the chance to take first. But had the opponent taken on h5, I would have had to take with the pawn, opening up a line directly at my king. Because again, my non-pawn pieces, knight included, can't take my opponent's pawns. All right, we'll go ahead and take back. Right, and I can't even take back on g4. So h5 is incoming. Can't really do anything about it. So let's, I don't know. I guess let's play queen b6, put some pressure on the knight on d4. e5 is an idea. It's an idea of all time. I mean, it's not the best idea of all time, just one of the ideas of all time. And this is not looking great for us. Maybe we can double up the rooks. Yeah, well, you know what? Let's do that. Let's try for an attack as quickly as possible. And if somehow things start opening up, great. And if they don't, wasn't meant to be. All right, pawn takes, queen to h6 is a very real threat. Let's play, oh goodness. I guess let's take. If we get check, we can move out of the way. And at least for a couple of tempo, we might be fine. I mean, g5 is right there. But maybe we can like counter sack, maybe take on d4. Again, this is very hopeful. It's not realistic that any of this results in us actually making a comeback here, but it's worth a try. All right, we do get g5 right away. I'm inclined to believe that this opponent is at least a relatively strong player. They played plenty of moves of Sicilian theory, and they're not doing a bad job at all of capitalizing on this attack. So let's do this. We'll take on d4, and my hope is that somehow our opponent's drawback becomes evident. Rook to f1. Interesting, interesting. Does pin the knight, so I'm still guaranteed to lose it. But somehow this doesn't feel as bad as the position we were in a second ago. Let's do this. Bishop to b5. If they take, it's not with check. So I can take on f1 and win the rook. All right, knight takes b5. If I take, my opponent takes. There are checkmating ideas. I mean, I don't know if it's going to win us the game, but yeah, pawn takes. What are the odds I can do some crazy sacrifice? And what are the odds I get punished immediately for it? All right, let's see. Realistically, queen c4, pawn takes with check. I move the king out of the way, queen check, king goes back. This is basically mate. So I might actually have to play for something crazy here. Okay, if I take first, check, king moves out of the way, check on h3, f5, because I don't want to lose the rook. Oh, how do I get rid of that arrow? Hello? I don't know how to get rid of that. Oh, I can just click all of them. Let's go ahead and take. And if things look really dire, then I might just like sack a rook or something. Oh wait, I definitely should have just played that right there. Oh, wasted opportunity, okay. Wow, they go for the rook sack. Oh, they had the same idea we did. The only problem is our drawback. Oh, our drawback does not negatively influence our position like that whatsoever. Only thing we can't do is capture pawns. You know what, this opponent might be way stronger than me. I can just take the king right away. And with that, we win game number 6. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. All right, you won. You took your opponent's king. Your opponent's drawback was true gentleman, can't capture queens. That is insane. I think if I had to guess, me and my opponent are probably similarly rated. If not, they're probably a little bit stronger. And we both, I think, might have been psyching ourselves out on needing to sacrifice pieces when it just wasn't necessary in the position. I mean, my opponent could have just played normal checks and continued the attack as they were. And I probably would have been totally losing, but they went for the sacrifice before we did. But I'm gonna be honest, we were under equal mental duress. I was equally stressed about losing to an attack. So with that, we do get all 5 victories. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know down below what drawbacks you think are the hardest to play against, and I will see you guys in the next one.